we've got some really interesting stuff this morning, quite a varied smorgasbord of delights as ever. But let me just run through the agenda for you for this morning. We're going to hear from Andy. Is it Andy or Andrew? Okay. Come off mute, Andy.
Yeah, Andy's fine.
Andy's fine. Are you in your studio? Where are you at the moment, Andy?
I'm actually in my office at the moment.
And that's just outside Kirkby Lonsdale, right?
It is, that's right, here near Old Town, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Andy is a sculptor of many years' repute and award winning. And Andy's going to tell us a story about his work, but in particular, a brand new sculpture of a ram, a Swaledale Ram, which he has created, which is about, I think I'm right in saying, about to be put up outside the town of Kirkby Lonsdale. But we'll
That's
find out for
quite right.
sure how much of that is true in a second with Andy. So we've got some images of some of his work as well. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about Andy. Then Rosa Prosser, who's in the Pyrenees at the moment. She doesn't look like she is, but she is. And she is one of the masterminds, if not the mastermind, behind a kind of green screen handover, a youthful green screen handover that goes on at the Alhambra in Penrith, whereby young people, 16 to 25-year-olds, are invited to help decide what should be shown as part of a project to help environmental awareness absolutely ramp up in that part of the world. So Rosa's got her fingers in quite a few pies, actually. We might find out a bit more about that shortly as well. So really nice to have you with us, Rosa. Thank you for joining us. What's the weather like in Spain?
It's very hot and very
Is it?
windy. Yeah, but it's really nice. It's kind of summer has hit already and we hiked about 20 miles yesterday in the Pyrenees. So yeah, I'm very happy. But it's nice to be here as well and kind of connect through this call.
And why are you there?
I was presenting at a conference in Europe on some of the work I've been doing outside of this project, but I guess connecting. I'm a filmmaker and I've been doing lots of work on the Helm Wind in Cumbria. So I was presenting a film I made and talking about the Helm Wind and the kind of philosophy connecting to the wind. And then, yeah, it's a nice excuse to kind of spend a few days hiking as well whilst I'm here.
Very nice. And you're from Armathwaite originally, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Born and
Okay.
raised in Alfred.
Okay. So the Helm Wind is very much your wind. Did you know that Sarah Hall has just written another novel and it's called Helm?
No, I haven't heard of this. No.
So Sarah Hall is a Cumbrian novelist, very well, very famous kind of Cumbrian novelist. She's written about, I don't know, 10 novels. She was at Words by the Water chairing a session last week when I was there. Her new book is out later this year. You should find out about it. There's stuff on the internet about it already. I think it's called Helm. How much it's to do with the Helm Wind or not, I don't know. But I just happened to overhear her talking about it at the festival.
Okay,
So check
nice.
that out.
Yeah, I'll
So
definitely check it
we're
out.
gonna hear from Rosa, and find out what that project's all about. And then of course Peter Macqueen and Grace Kirkby, they're doing their thing with their two beautiful one-person plays about butterflies and about Nancy's Orange. Peter's is about much more than butterflies. I'll let him explain that. And Nancy's Orange and Grace's is about much more than just someone trooping around the north of the county delivering
Yeah.
medicine in people's houses. I've seen them both, and these are two beautiful pieces that have been underway for a number of years now, with a lot of support from Theatre by the Lake and various other places, and now doing a rural tour. And they're in Wiltshire today because they're about to do some shows in Dorset, which is where I'm from originally. I was very. I saw your little trailer film that you made, and it was very nice to hear you mention these three villages, all of which I knew. That you're performing in over the next few days, and you're back up to Cumbria to do some shows up in Cumbria as well. So, just going to find out how that's developed over the past months, and congratulations on getting the tour sorted out as well. So that is the plan for this morning. And without further ado, I think we're going to crack straight in to going to Kirkby Lonsdale. And I haven't been to Kirkby Lonsdale for too long. Obviously, you had a terrible fire there before Christmas, a sad death there too, and it's really affected the town where it's at. So it's so fantastic to hear about an artistic cultural project that's going on, just to perhaps put a bit of a smile or a bit of a focus back onto Kirkby Lonsdale. So Andy, you're very welcome to join this call. Thank you very much for making the time for us this morning.
Yeah, good morning, Tom. I'm very pleased to be here.
Great. Tell us a little bit about yourself first of all, and your work and what you've been doing.
Okay, first of all, started off design degree in Leeds, more of engineering than artwork. Ended up in Scandinavia on a fishing trawler, which was nothing to do with where I wanted to go, but it's quite fun. Then went down to the Franz Kafka Theatre in Prague, ran out of money, came home, set up a workshop, and it's been going 30 years from here on in, really. Some of it's been very, very lean. Other times have been quite tight, where I would have to enjoy my skills of mending muck spreaders for the local farmer rather than making sculpture. But such is life, you know. But luckily, we've been quite fortunate in the last 15 years to be able to focus totally on animal and wildlife sculpture, which we've found a bit of a niche, and I've been very fortunate, really.
And we've got some images of some of your work, which we'll share shortly.
Mm-hmm.
But tell us a little bit more about how the Swaledale Ram piece came about.
Yeah, the idea was a few years ago now to put a sculpture on the roundabout for Kirkby. I've been living in and around Kirkby Lonsdale for 30 odd years. I love the town. It's been very good to me. When I first started, a lot of people were very good and helping me out. And it's just a little thank you, really. It's a bit of a legacy. I don't want to sound pretentious, but the idea was to get quite a big sculpture on the roundabout, which I was going to give to the town just as a thanks. And it's now, as you say, very unfortunately, with the fire and the tragic death of people, it's sort of knitted in that it's just a small part of the regeneration of the town. So it's come about at the right time, I think. It's one of many assets that are going to be unveiled, and I hope it's well accepted, Rick.
Okay, well let's get the image up of the piece, and perhaps you might like to talk us through how you've gone about creating it, and also a bit about the size and how it's come about, manufactured.
Yeah, the smaller pieces that we make are made in it's all made in mild steel bar. The smaller pieces are made in square 3/4 inch, whereas the bigger pieces like this, which is going to be, it's 2.7 meters before the stone, which the stone alone is 10 tons worth. And then we with the bigger pieces we do for the Shire horses and this ram, we make it out of big heavy flat bar, which is sort of 100 by 12 mil thick, so it's quite hefty. That's half a ton's worth of steel there. It's quite soft, malleable material to work. We use pre-war hydraulic presses to hand press each piece, and then we offer it up normally with a full-size drawing set on the door of the workshop behind it, so that we get the scale right. Bottom line is it's not that difficult, really. What we do, the only sort of crunch is to try and get some life into the animal. And that takes a little bit of time. Some pieces get flung in the scrap bin now and again. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with this one. I hope the rest of the town will be, and people who see it. Yeah.
And is it up yet?
No, that's in my neighbour's field by the lake at Kittreding Farm shop. They're just up the road from us. But it's going to be installed in 2 weeks' time when the Highways Agency finally give us the go-ahead to get a traffic light system in place.
To install it?
To install it, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Well, we might come back to the Ram in a second, but I know that we've got 2 or 3 other images of some of your pieces from elsewhere. So tell us about this piece.
Yeah, that's called A Watchful Stag. It's one of the first pieces I did. Some clients down in, I think it was Wiltshire, so they wanted a charcoal, this was about 20 years ago, wanted a charcoal sketch, but done in steel. And that was the sort of brief, can you make us a stag with a charcoal sort of sketch idea? And so that's how it came about. Yeah, that was the first one. And at the time I didn't have any money, and my wife very kindly offered to put an advert in the Westmoreland Gazette. Sorry, that's not true. In the Telegraph gardening section of a weekend. And it's a little advert, very small. We couldn't afford a great big one. And she had a proper job at the time, whereas I didn't. And I was like, crikey, we can't afford this. If it goes wrong, it's not going to work. And we got 12 orders in the first weekend. And it was like, whoa, hang on a minute. Something's finally worked. So and that's where it came from, really, 20 years back, and that was the stag, and we sell quite a lot of them all over the world now. So
Wow, wow. Okay. Well, let's see the next image of another piece that you've done.
yeah, that's the herd of. So obviously the stag's in the middle, and then we've got two grazing does who are nonchalantly just chewing at the grass, and then there's two what we call hinds who are actually quite aware of what's going on with the stag. You need a bit of space for that installation, but we didn't deliberately try and make the work exclusive, but it seems to attract people who have got some land, have got some space for a herd of 5 deer. Relatively speaking, compared to bronzes, they're not expensive. It's a much simpler process than lost works bronze casting, and mild steel's quite a cheap commodity. So, yeah, you can get quite a lot of bang for your buck, if you will, if that's not mixing metaphors. So yeah, that's the herd of 5 deer. Yeah, red deer.
And is that particular piece in situ somewhere with the 5 deer all together, or was that just sort of done for the
That
photograph?
one was a photo shoot taken at Barben Manor, just across the valley from us. But as I say, we have them all over the world now. The herds of deer.
Wow.
Yeah, quite a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got one more image to have a look at, which is a slightly different animal. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, now this is my favorite. Sometimes when you make something and you think, yeah, that's quite good, it's pretty good, but you could always do better. I nearly always have that. Whereas this, I'm not saying it's perfect, but this was for a client in Namibia, and they wanted a full-size leopard. And I lost myself for 3 days making that. I put some quite loud music on in the workshop. It was just me, none of the staff were in, and I completely lost myself for 3 days. It was marvelous. It's how it should be. But when we have a balance between being creative and commercial, and they don't never the twain shall meet in a way. It's quite difficult to have the two working hand in hand. So I forgot all about the commerciality and just made that, and I'm pleased with that one. It's got the life to it, I think.
How big is that?
So it's full size, so it's 3.2 meters nose to tail.
And that's now been shipped to Namibia, has
It's
it?
Namibia now, yeah, it is, which is
Wow.
quite bizarre. It's quite remarkable. I still pinch myself,
So, where does the wildlife sculpture bit come from? Why wildlife?
I love animals. I always have. We live in the middle of the countryside. We're very fortunate. I've always had an affinity with them, and we're very lucky. We're very lucky with our indigenous wildlife here, which is predominantly what we take the inspiration from. But now and again, somebody sends us a curveball and says, "Can you make a leopard?" So it's just a respect for wildlife. Yeah, and we see a lot around where we live. Unfortunately, and rather negatively, one of my Labradors killed a little leveret last night when my wife was on for a walk, and it upset me all night because this poor little hare, it's got all its life to live, and my dog goes after it. But I suppose that's just life, isn't it? Really.
Maybe you'll need to do a sculpture of a little leveret to
Yeah, well, indeed, yeah.
to pay amends. Dogs are dogs sometimes, aren't they?
They are.
Kate says in chat, Andy, beautiful. And Mick says the leopard has a great comic book quality. It looks like it's been drawn in the air with a big fat felt tip marker. I think that's a very nice way of describing it.
Mhm.
Pete asks, do the sculptures rust? And if so, does that change their character? Good question.
Right, okay, yes, they are. We all leave it in a natural state, so everything goes down to superficial rust, most of which for the deer and such like is a similar pattern and a hue to the actual animal. It's only superficial because it's made out of fairly thick, solid bar. It'll outlast all of us. They'll last for 100 years or more in the natural state. So yes, when you're seeing the works in silhouette, you won't notice whether they come out of the steel nor when they're grey. But when it rusts down, you won't notice the difference in colour. It is just a dark, as you say, felt tip pen sketch, really.
Yeah, and often sculptures, as you say, have a long life. I'm just, even the enormous ones like Angel of the North and whatever, they evolve into their landscape, and with the weathering, it's kind of part of their life almost, isn't it?
It is, I suppose. Yeah, the Angel was made out of something called Core 10 steel, which has got a element of copper mixed in with the alloy. So that works well in a marine environment. But you can only buy it in plate, and we use a lot of bar, you see. So we don't use Core 10. Oh.
And what's your process? So to make that leopard, Andy, was that a bunch of photographs? Was that,
Yeah, lots of photographs, skeleton, muscular, all that sort of stuff. Because my sort of style works quite well with picking out the muscles and the the sinew nation. If somebody asks for a pig or whatever, or a Swaledale or something that's fairly fluffy, it doesn't work so well. Whereas a leopard works really well with my style. So yeah, drawings first, and then life-size drawing, and then slowly build it up on some steel tables in the workshop, legs upwards, and then off we go, really.
And do you work by yourself?
No, there's 5 of them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Amy, would you mind bringing up the ram again, the image of the ram again? Because I just want to explore that a little bit more. It's a really. Has there been a local reaction to it, Andy, or is it too early to tell?
There has. I put it on. There's a local forum called We Are Kirkby Lonsdale, which has quite a few members. About 3,500 people have liked it, which is only in our local community. So that's a good start, really. You're going to get the odd comment and the odd person who isn't so keen, but I suppose that's life, isn't it? Really. Yeah, the idea is that when you're going down the A65. It's just, let's say mum's just thinking, right, should we have baked beans with our fish fingers tonight? And then they see the ram, or the kids see the ram in the back seats, and they go, oh, and it's just a few seconds of just getting out of, just the day-to-day reality. And then they'll probably go back, right, well, we will have baked beans when they're past it, So it's just it's just to try and get us out of something just for a second or two.
Yeah, yeah. And are there other sculptors, like yourself in this part of the world, or are you a bit of a lone wolf when it comes to this kind of thing?
I do know quite a lot of sculptors, and I get a lot of pleasure from seeing their work and talking to them. But I don't know why, but we seem to have just got a bit of a niche in how we make ours and what we do with them. Other people, obviously, they're not. This is fabricated. This is not cast. Yeah, I know. I don't think anybody's done anything quite the same as mine. I might be wrong there, but I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're exclusive by any means. It's just the way that my style has evolved, really. Yeah.
Would you ever do anything, a lot bigger than this, or is this the kind of size that you're comfortable with?
That's a good size. Funnily enough, just had an inquiry this morning. Somebody saw that from I think it was in Oxfordshire magazine. They just wanted a 10-foot high elephant because of having seen the ram. So that's pushing it size-wise, because we've got a 4-meter high door in the workshop, and we've got a crane that will lift a ton, and that's about it, really. Anything bigger, it starts getting a bit cumbersome. We live down a very, very small lane, so I've got to take things down sort of lengthways with a forklift truck to get to the, so it's logistically, that's about as big as I want to go, really.
All right, and you've alluded to the logistics of getting this RAM put in place in the Highways Agency. Yeah. I'm assuming that you want to spend all your time and effort and energy and love into the artistic nature of this thing, but actually, there's probably quite a lot of practicalities that you've got to consider in all this.
You wouldn't believe it. Thankfully, the town council of Kirkby Lonsdale have been brilliant, and they've done a lot of the groundworks when it comes to dealing with Westland Furnace Council and the highways. And because I don't want to sound negative, but these people, sometimes it feels like they want to stop the wheel going round, whereas we want to get it going. So maybe leave it at that, but we're getting there. We are getting there. So
excellent. A few comments in chat for you, Andy. Derek says the ram has a great impression of strength and solidity. Absolutely, it does. Those feet are going nowhere, especially on that massive bit of, what sort of rock is that? Is that a bit of?
Yeah, no, it's slate. It's from the Heidelberg quarry in Ingleton. They gave it to us, which is really nice of them. It's 10 tons of stone there. So I've got a friend who's got a big high-ab in a wagon, and he's going to lift it in place for us.
It really suits the sculpture. It's a brilliant choice of rock.
It is. It was more luck than judgment, that one, I think.
Pete asks, will the ram be bolted to the rock, or could it get nicked?
No, absolutely. It's underneath there are hidden dowels, which we then will resin into the stone. So if you do want to steal it, you're going to have to find something to lift 11 tons.
Okay. And Chris Chris, this is a very Chris question. Do you give them names? And if so, who is the ram?
Okay, I personally don't give them names. I'm just calling this the Kirkby Ram. People have called them all sorts of things, but that's entirely up to them.
I think it's called Rocky.
Rocky
The
the Ram.
Ram.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not a bad one. Yeah, yeah.
I can see a county-wide competition to name the ram coming up. Certainly amongst the burgers of Kirkby Lonsdale anyway.
Indeed.
Well, it's great to meet you, Andy. You know, I came
Yeah,
across you because I read about this piece online somewhere and thought I'd try and track you down. And it's really interesting to see your work.
Mhm.
You know, I've not seen anybody do this kind of thing in Cumbria before, so it's fascinating to explore and uncover a new piece of art for me anyway, and culture in the county. So thank you ever so much for sharing that with us. Yeah, and you'd be more than welcome to come back anytime to enjoy other people's work as well. But good luck with it. 2 weeks' time, so we'll look out for that. Hopefully we'll get a bit of coverage.
We will get some coverage, certainly. I think it'll be, yeah, I think we'll find out about that. So, yeah, thanks very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Kate, do you want to just pick up about leverets? Obviously, a sad story about the leveret, but there are plenty of other leverets in the world, fingers crossed, that Andy's dog is not going to find. So Chloe Dalton's Raising Hair, this is a book that was at Words by the Water, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it was. It just reminded me of the book that I'm reading at the moment called Raising Hair.
It's the best book I've ever read, Kate. It's just Chloe Dalton is just a star, isn't she?
I think she's an absolute genius. And she spoke at Words by the Water a couple of weeks ago, and she also comes across as an incredibly lovely person. And she basically.
For those that don't know, Kate, what's the book about?
Book is about a little leveret that she picks up on the road one day for fear that it's going to be run over. This is during lockdown, and the sort of short version is that she lives with the hare for several years, many years, in fact, and literally shares a house with this little leveret and then hare. And it's the way that she adjusts her own life and changes her own way of looking at life as a result of this tiny creature, and the respect that she shows for it is just beautiful, beautiful. So I'd recommend the book so heartily. But it does also show, you know, yeah. I mean, leverets, there are lots of them, as you find out when you read this book. But it is beautiful. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So Chloe Dalton, Raising Hair. Check it out. It's in hardback at the moment. I'm sure it'll come to paperback in due course as well. Andy, thank you again, and great to see your work on our screens this morning.
Thank you.
Well, let's cross from Kirkby Lonsdale to the Pyrenees. I mean, why not? You know, and let's hear from Rosa Prosser now. Rosa, you might remember last year there was we did a session on one of these Friday morning Zooms with 3 women who were swimming the length of the Eden to raise awareness about the Eden and also about the kind of rubbish and pollution that the Eden was in danger of being swamped by unless we did something about it. And Rosa made a little film that we showed about that project. So she's a woman that has many strings to her bow. And one of the things that we're going to talk about this morning is this project going on in Penrith with young people choosing to highlight environmental films at the Alhambra in Penrith. So Rosa, you're very welcome with us this morning in sunny Spain. Tell us a bit more about the project, and then we've got a little bit of animation to have a look at as well. So tell us a bit about yourself first of all, Rosa. How come you're in Spain, and where are you from in Cumbria?
Yeah, so I'm from born and raised in Armagh in Cumbria, and kind of got interested in film, I guess, growing up making short films, and then went on to study natural sciences and documentary filmmaking afterwards. Is it too noisy, by the way? I hope
it's fine.
Okay. And I think, like, for me, filmmaking is a way to engage with things beyond language and thinking about the climate crisis. Again, a really great way to explore these topics and kind of collectively get people interested and involved. So the Green Screen Youth Takeover project is in Penrith at the Alhambra Cinema. The Green Screen has been running for a few years. Of every month they screen an environmental film, and it's a way to kind of get community members talking about these films and talking about the issues, and they invite different people. And Karen Joel, who is involved with Anti-Racist Cumbria and XR North, was the kind of person to start this, and she's been really enthusiastic. And in the past few months, we've been developing this project, which has been launched last month, which is the youth takeover. So it's just trying to get more 16 to 25-year-olds involved in the programming of these films and making short films as well, and kind of as a way for them to creatively explore these issues and I guess have some agency in the conversations as well, in different ways. And I think when I was working on this film with the View from the River team that swam the Eden, we had lots of conversations about why aren't things changing, why are we kind of saying the same things, and we were saying that creativity is the best way to kind of like stimulate different conversations and say things in ways that maybe haven't been said before, and yeah, make a difference in a kind of fun way. So that's essentially the green screen project.
And what's the take-up been like? What's the interest been like amongst 16 to 25-year-olds?
It's been good. Yeah, we've had interest. I have to say, kind of, it's been harder than I expected to get young people involved, and I'm curious kind of why this is. Because to me, this sounds like when I grew up here, I was really interested in film, but there didn't seem many opportunities when I was growing up in Cumbria to get involved in that, being in a rural place. And then kind of I found that when I went to London, the comparison to a city felt quite extreme of all the opportunities in London, and everything happening. So to kind of create more opportunities in Cumbria is really exciting. But yeah, young people, it's been harder, but definitely there's some really enthusiastic kind of individuals who do have that energy to want to look at films and make films as well. And we've been working a lot with Blue Jam, which have a really great group there. And the enthusiasm there has been really amazing. So that's some of the clips we were going to show today, is the work they've already been doing and that we're going to screen in September.
All right, well, let's have a look at, there's a couple of animations and a bit of audio. So Amy will pull up the first animation. Do you want to just introduce it, Rose, and just tell us what we're going to see?
Yeah, so the first one is from someone called Ruby in the Blue Jam Crate Jam group, and collectively we've been doing animation as a way to explore these issues, and she made this kind of short testing animation, which you'll see now, and we can kind of play it on repeat, I think, because it's quite short. But yeah, the working with the Blue Jam, what we're doing is we're having a workshop for people to kind of explore these issues further in more detail in May, and then in September doing Jam for Climate. So having the cinema as a kind of open space where they can do performance and share their work and engage in these questions as well. And it's been really nice to see how people have kind of with a quite open thing of thinking about climate change and your response, or people have had some quite creative responses. So I guess we can see Ellie as well, who's made the short animation.
Yeah, we'll get the second one up now. I think animations are so clever. I think it's so clever to make that movement from lots of little still drawings. I think people who do this sort of thing are very, very clever people. We've got the second one to look at now. Yeah, would you like to just introduce this one, Rosa, while Amy pulls it up?
Yeah, so this one's from Ellie. And again, she's another young person in the Blue Jam group who's working with us to make animations for September. And yeah, I would agree with Tom, it takes so much time. So I haven't done animation before. My practice is filmmaking, but learning from these people of kind of how you make animations in different ways, and the time that it takes to make them is really impressive, and kind of again thinking about different ways of communicating. And I think animation is great because you can move beyond the constraints of reality in a way, so you can bring in imagination in different ways and really kind of imagine different things, and have different responses. And the third thing we have is from a lady, where she's actually done some music as well. So that's kind of also what we're including in this project, is young people's responses with music.
So might those animations, just while we set up the third one, might those animations become longer pieces?
Yeah, so the idea is so yeah, the partnership as well is with the Alhambra Cinema in Penrith, and they've been really amazing for sharing their space every month with us. So in September, we've got the space to share the animations for 2 hours. So the young people at the moment are developing them into longer pieces, and these are kind of like testing ideas, and we're thinking of stories to do with them as well and music. So it's kind of, yeah, turning into a longer thing, but it's really
Okay.
nice how, yeah, how they're working.
Right, so we're going to hear some sound now, I think. So
So
tell us a bit
yeah,
about that.
well, this was again with the same, these three came at the same time of this kind of response to climate change. And I just thought this was really incredible for such a kind of creative response. And she made it very quickly. That in that time kind of was able to produce this. And she was saying it sounds very Western. And we had a great conversation about how like reminding people of Western movies and that kind of atmosphere that the music is able to create. Um, yeah, and to me, it's just very exciting the different ways that people can um, kind of use what they're interested in to all work together on a project. So that's kind of what we're hoping to get more people involved who are interested in kind of having creative responses and making
Yeah.
things
And these are all people from around the Penrith area, young people?
around Penrith. Yeah,
Yeah.
around Penrith area, extending to Carlisle as well, and kind of wider places in Cumbria, and we're doing a few things on Zoom as well to make it accessible. So
Okay.
the film screen in Penrith, but kind of how to engage people beyond the Penrith, like
Yeah.
just the
So, I mean, I think we mentioned this when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, Rosa, but the network is very much trying to spend some time over the next year, perhaps the next couple of years, supporting young people, young creatives in Cumbria, specifically younger people, to explore what the barriers are for them developing creative careers in Cumbria in the first place, and then seeing what we can actually put in place through a massive network and collaboration of other organisations to try and support them in a better way. Kate, do you want to say anything about this? Because obviously you've been writing the bids to try and get the money out of Arts Council and various other people to do this.
Yeah, so it's if all goes to plan, and that is quite a big if, we have developed a £365,000 project over the next couple of years to support young people to be better able to, first of all, understand what a creative career might look like, and then to be able to build that and sustain that in Cumbria if they want to, so that there isn't always the need to leave, or if you do leave, returning is an attractive prospect and a viable prospect. So on Tuesday this week, we submitted a big Arts Council Place partnership bid after much sweating and crying. That went in. So that was for 175,000, and we have other bids in on which we're waiting responses to find out whether this is all going to go ahead. So by the middle of May, we'll know whether we can press on with this huge, as Tom says, collaborative project that involves lots of organisations across the county, lots of individual creative practitioners. And it's about how we can all work together to try and address the issue, really, rather than all doing our own little thing in respective corners of the county. So, yeah, fingers crossed.
Yes, do look out for that, Rose, because it might be something that you want to, get involved in some way, shape, or form. Although, come to you in a second, Jonathan. Rosa, aren't you skipping off to America sometime later this year?
So I am, yeah, personally, I'm off to Harvard to start a PhD in September in filmmaking and kind of continuing with my research of filmmaking and anthropology in the wind, which is very exciting. But the project, the Green Screen Youth Project, I'll be working with them until or on the project until September, but we're really thinking about the longevity of the project beyond that point. So it's really great to hear what you guys are doing as well, and kind of connecting with that, I think would be a great way to think about our own longevity, and also a way to kind of connect all these things that are happening in Cumbria and kind of make sure they all align. So yeah.
Okay, great. And obviously, we need to have a finger in the pie of Harvard at some stage. So be useful contact for us for our Harvard orientated work as well. So thank you for that. Rosa, stay there. Jonathan, you got your hand up.
Yes, I was interested to hear what Kate was saying about networking and making opportunities for youthful artists. There's one thing that we can add to the mix straight away for nothing, which seems to be somewhat overlooked. Certainly, village halls. You, Tom, will be familiar with that through rural touring. Quite a lot of halls now are getting very spiffy indeed projection equipment. Around Millom, we just got 4 halls with the latest stuff there. Which are all begging for short films. We've already had a screening of 6 inches of soil and so forth, so we're very keen on environmental work. We won't have the inconvenience you had. There'll be no power cuts with us because we're all solar powered with batteries. But it's something that could be networked and could be quite a useful thing. So if people just wanted to get their work out there, the venues are very keen to be showing shorts, perhaps as an add-on to a feature.
I think that's a really good point, Jonathan, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot more souped up village halls these days than there have been in the past, and it's easier to make this stuff happen in village halls, technologically wise, than it has been, I think, in the past as well. So thank you, Jonathan. That's a really good observation. We'll come to village halls with Grace and Peter in a second, but first of all, Chris, Howard asks, how would young people get involved in the Green Screen project, Rosa?
So we have an email, Green Screen
We've got a
Penrith.
graphic we can show, I think, as well, but carry
That
on.
would be great.
Yeah.
The kind of best way for them to get involved at the moment is to send us an email, or on Instagram as well. It's Green Screen Penrith. This is a graphic of our next green screen event, a film, The Hermit of Traig, which is a really, really beautiful documentary. We'll be showing.
What's it about?
It's about this hermit who, I guess, this man who kind of was a bit disillusioned with society and started taking photographs, and then moves to build his own house on the side of this loch in Scotland. And the filmmaker Lizzie met him, and they had a friendship for 7 years. And then I think she started filming with him. So it kind of includes also her journey. So it's kind of about, I guess for me, it's about the environment and images and the way we look and living and our society at the moment, and also friendship and this kind of relationships between people and between the place we live. And I was just very moved when I saw it. I think when I saw it, it definitely inspired me to make more films, or film in kind of a certain way. She's a very, I would say, a tender filmmaker. Yeah, so we're sharing that, but the different ways young people can get involved specifically is kind of coming to the events. We have free tickets to give away, so that's the easiest way they can get involved. Or we really want young people to be doing the Q&As, to be asking questions for the filmmakers, to be inviting the filmmakers themselves and choosing the films we show. So those are different ways. Also leading the Instagram if they want to do more kind of publicizing things, or getting involved with the creative side of making the films and animation and doing work to show as well. So there's kind of, depending on what people are interested in, different ways to get involved.
Okay, great. Is there a website or a Facebook group or an Instagram connection?
Instagram, Green Screen Penrith, and the email as well is a good way to contact.
Yeah. Feel free to put those into chat in a second, Rosa. That would be great. Useful for people to know about. Lovely stuff. Well, thank you ever so much for sharing that, Rosa, and good luck with all your other bits and bobs that you're doing as well. It sounds like an exciting time for you. So really good to have you still engaged with all the stuff in Penrith as well. And it's fascinating, isn't it? This whole kind of, even though I don't know how old you are, Rosa, probably in your 20s or something, but trying to engage young people. I'm not saying they're bad people, but trying to get them to come to the wicket sometimes is more difficult than we think, for whatever reason. Were we the same when we were that age? I don't know. I'm 56, so it's some time ago now. But all we can do is present opportunities for this to happen, I guess, and make sure that they're part of the conversation that comes up with ideas, as you are doing with your project, to try and make stuff happen and influence people that need influencing. Lovely stuff. Thank you, Rosa. Good to see you in the sunshine in Spain. But is it sunny in Wiltshire? That's the question we're asking ourselves now. Grace and Peter are in some fancy looking place. I think Mick is in the same place as well. It looks quite nice from here. How are you both?
Very well, thank you.
Very well,
yes.
thank you.
It was sunny in Wiltshire. However, yesterday when we drove down from Cumbria was beautifully sunny. Wiltshire, down south, cloudy, cold.
Tell us a bit about what you're doing there, and people that don't know you. Who are you? What do you do? And why on earth are you in Wiltshire?
We're in Wiltshire because the short story is 2 years ago, I wrote a little piece that was put on at a scratch night at Theatre by the Lake, and they've been fantastic, as you know, supporting us. Peter directed me. We then developed that piece, and alongside that, so I'd written that, Peter directed me, and I'm performing in a solo piece. I'll come back to what it is. So then we agreed that we would take 2 shows out together, so it would be a whole evening for folk to come and see, rather than just come and see me for 45 minutes.
Grace conned me into writing a piece to go with her, so that's what I did.
So we direct each other in our own plays and we perform them. And to date, we've just been in Cumbria, and there've been 2 sort of versions of it really as we've developed them. And now we're on tour for the first time. So on Saturday we opened.
Have you got a big Winnebago?
I wish.
No, we've got my car and a trailer.
Oh, okay.
But I'm thinking big, and there'll be another tour in the autumn. So watch this space.
My car and the trailer again. I've got used to now over 10 years going around rural touring. Excuse me, with my car and trailer, just doing my own one-man shows. So this is the first time I've had to travel with other people. We'll see how it goes.
We're calling it an experiment, really. The experiment.
And just remind us what the 2 pieces are about.
So my piece is called Nancy's Orange, and it's based on a short, on a part-time job that I've had. Interestingly, the service has now come to an end with government funding, but I was a part-time prescription delivery driver for a local to me surgery, and I would go out and deliver prescriptions to all sorts of folk. And I was out one day, I'd taken a friend with me. She obviously didn't come in to meet the people, and I'd get back in the car, tell her a little bit about the situation, not giving anything confidential away. And at the end of the morning, she said, you've got a play here. So I just sat with that for a few months, made a few notes, and basically it's one woman, that's me, 10 characters, human characters.
That's you.
That's me, and a sweary dog. That's me. Oh, well, it's both of us.
Carry on.
Yeah. So over the 2 years, the piece has developed and changed. And one of the great things about doing the R&D at Theatre by the Lake was we had feedback. We asked for feedback from audiences, and both of us in both our shows responded to that feedback. And we haven't necessarily said, oh, well, if you don't like that, we won't put that in. But we've listened to the main points that people have made. So creatively, things have changed over time. I mean, for me, I've lost a couple of characters. I've created a couple of new characters. And so now I think I'm very happy with what my story is, her story is rather. And now it's on the road and it's going to Dorset.
So Grace's piece really is because it's set in rural Cumbria. So it's kind of a lot of it is about rural isolation, but it's also about society today and how it deals with that.
Yeah.
Mine has a flavour of rural isolation about it. It's slightly different, but we have linked the two. So when I wrote mine, I wanted to make it a companion piece to Gracie's, so there are links. Mine has a slightly different take on it, excuse me, in that you've already heard about climate change this morning. Mine's called The Butterfly Collector. I was commissioned to do two films, excuse me, I was commissioned to do two films during lockdown by different rural touring organisations. And they were a 5-minute piece and then an extended half-hour piece called The Butterfly Collector, both character-led, but both about what's happening today in our world, about the appalling declines in species, and I focus on butterflies in particular. The stage play then that I have now written, which we're on tour with, is each of those films I at the time said, I think this is work in progress and I wanted to progress it, but I didn't quite know how or when or where I was going to do that. So the two films have now progressed, if you like, into and been adapted with the same theme, but my play now, The Butterfly Collector, is on tour, is set in the future. It's about a character whose family have been collecting butterflies. We talk about extinction. We also talk about floods. I was affected by Storm Desmond when it came along quite badly. It weaves these themes together. It's set in the future. And there are a few strap lines to it, but one of them I think is about the little things. If we'd listened to the little things, then we might have saved some of the big things, because in my future, a lot of the big things have already gone. So it is definitely about climate change. There are also, it's not a lecture and it's not too didactic. I do tell moth jokes in it as well. So there is a stand-up comic telling
There's
moth.
an excellent moth joke in it, if I remember correctly.
Yes, don't give it away though. So mine features Grace moves around on the stage from her car, her driving seat, to visit different people. I'm sitting on a chair on a box on a table in the attic of my house. Yeah, things occur during my play, but it's very much it's my way of asking people to think, a bit about what's happening. But I don't want it to be too depressing, because my God, we're in a depressing world as it is. So it's both of them treat serious subjects with a light touch, I think you could say.
They say that the arts can influence people, don't they? This is a great example of potentially, you can make people think a bit differently as a result of your art.
Well, that's the hope. And also we did the show at Threlkeld Village Hall on Saturday, just before we've come down on tour, and again a lovely response. And there were a couple of people there who they had never been to a theatrical event before, so it was their first time as an audience member in a theatre, and we had some wonderful feedback from them. So yeah, I mean, I wish more. I do a lot of sort of rural touring to the village hall circuit, and I wish that more young people would come along, or we could attract more young people, but it is difficult. We do, there are normally, your families and things come along, but yeah, it's so important, because I've set the play in the future. I'm not going to be around that long. I have a daughter, and I would like her to see some of the butterflies that are still flying at the moment. And sadly, I don't think she's going to. There we are. I should do a moth joke now to lighten you, shouldn't I?
I saw a butterfly, my first butterfly of the year, about 3 days ago when it was warm and sunny in my garden. And I thought, well, you're out a bit early. But it was good to see. And I've pruned my buddleia. I'm trying to get them to enjoy the buddleia. So who knows whether that will succeed or not. Can I ask Meg and Rosa? I'm looking at the people on the screen here, and I'm making an assessment, and I'm assessing that Meg and Rosa might be the youngest people on the screen this morning. So as representatives of the trades union of young people, Meg and Rosa, how do you respond to Peter's slight frustration, and I would share it slightly as well, about how do we cut through to young people with the work that we're doing in the artistic world? What are we doing wrong, and what do we need to do differently to connect the beautiful pieces that Grace and Peter are creating? Are we going to the wrong places? Are we talking to the wrong people?
That's a really good question. I would say get them involved as much as you can. Maybe get them involved in the writing process, or do a workshop with them and invite them. But it definitely sounds like, from my perspective, something, it sounds really, really interesting. So I would love to come along. Young people, maybe something we found with this project is how to communicate with them, and it's kind of former platforms like maybe ads in newspapers. I guess they're not reading, so it's kind of getting on, even though I have a resistance to this, of getting on Instagram, or I'm not on TikTok, but those ways to kind of so they hear about it. But I don't know, Megan, what do you think? Have you got ideas?
Yeah, I was definitely going to say social media, because I feel like I would love to go and see your play, and it sounds amazing. And a lot of the time, I feel like I don't hear about stuff until it's too late and the event's happened, and then I'm like, oh, I've missed it. So I definitely think putting things out on social media where younger people are predominantly finding the information will help.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough one. I definitely understand. It's really hard to reach younger people and get them actually attending these kinds of events. But there's definitely that interest. So hopefully social media would help.
I can see Peter Macqueen's whiskers being a TikTok sensation.
I'm not quite sure how to take that.
So there's lots of stuff about these shows on Peter's website. What's the website?
PMAC at pmacproductions.co.uk.
Okay, and I'm just lots of stuff about it.
Yeah. And also, Mick, you've got stuff on Big Up North, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got I set up a Facebook page, which I know. I mean, this is the trouble with social media in terms of young people, because Facebook, they're on Insta or they're on TikTok. But I went to Facebook because I didn't have much time, and I know how to use it. So that's why it's on there at the moment. But yeah, if you want to look on Big Up North Facebook, you'll find lots of information and stuff and stories and snippets of video and that kind of thing.
Yeah, really nice stuff. And I was looking at. Go on, Grace.
Well, no, we're going to chart what we're doing over the next few days,
Yeah, for sure. And there's some lovely stuff. And I didn't realise, Phil, you were involved in editing the video, The Butterfly Collector, for Peter during lockdown. I remember watching that. Peter sat at his desk with lots of trays of butterflies. And it's beautiful. And as Phil says, a very impactful and beautifully told story. And as Amy says, and by the way, I made a little podcast with Grace and Peter right in the early days when they were rehearsing in Theatre by the Lake. I think it was episode 23. Amy's very kindly going to bring up there they are with all the scripts and the pieces of paper, and there's the sound man.
That's Mark Melville.
Mark, it's got a beautiful sound landscape to this piece as well, and that's the rehearsal room upstairs at Theatre by the Lake. So if you fancy a listen to really early days about this project, then that's sitting there on the CACN website. But as Amy says as well, social media algorithms can make it extra difficult for things to be seen, even if they are being put out. So, hey, it's a world that we're having to battle, all of us, to get the right stuff out in the right way. Dorset, I'm sure, will embrace you, Peter and Grace. It's lovely to hear your stories. I mean, Wiltshire is nice, but Dorset is even nicer, I can confirm.
Then we're back up north after that. So
yeah, you've got shows, haven't you, back up in Cumbria? So when are those?
We're in Alston, Newborough, and Stanhope next week.
Cumbria, Cumbria, yeah. Yeah,
so back to the north, and we can definitely claim Alston. So good luck with the show, and it'd be fascinating to see how you translate some of the things which are slightly northern as part of the shows.
Yeah.
For yours, Grace, how that translates to that southern softy audience down in Dorset.
They won't understand me. Thanks for having me.
Good luck, and thank you very much for sharing that stuff this morning. Just before we go, just a reminder that there's an online music gathering with a collaboration with Brewery Arts in Kendal that Amy's just going to mention, because it's coming up in about a week's time. Amy, do you want to just mention that?
Yeah, if you scroll up, the link is in the chat, and I think it's on the 2nd of April. I'm trying to look through what I've put in the chat. Yeah, 2nd of April, 5:30 p.m. Just to say, if anybody knows any musicians, and you might kind of think, oh, well, they're already a musician, so they already know everything there is to know. We would just really appreciate you forwarding that link, because I think that's something that we're just saying about putting things out on social media. People don't always see things. So people just might not be aware that we're holding this workshop. It's with a wonderful professional musician called Sam Newbold. He's very experienced, is really big and popular as a jazz musician in Amsterdam and in the UK. So he's
And
certainly...
what's the workshop about, Amy?
It's about, making your living as a professional musician. So it's going to take you through everything from like booking gigs, promotion, all this online stuff. And it also covers all of the creative side as well. So I just think you'd be getting such a good, lesson there from somebody who really knows this stuff. And so, yeah, I would just encourage anybody, if you do know any musicians, it'd be great if you could forward that link to them, because, they might be able to forward it to other people.
Yeah,
It's in the
great
chat
stuff.
somewhere.
I've just put it in chat again
Thank you.
at the bottom there. And thanks for pmacproductions.co.uk as well. Little M for Mac. I once tripped over that and I put a big M and got into a lot of trouble. Right. Or I got the C wrong. I got something wrong anyway. I can't remember what it was, but I will never forget it. Okay. Thanks ever so much, everybody, for this morning. Thank you to Andy, who I know has had to slip off and get his Swaledale Ram sorted out. Rosa, great to hear your story, and good luck with everything that you're doing. And we'll watch the green screen project in the Alhambra in Penrith with interest. And Peter and Grace, good luck with the tour in Dorset, and then coming back up the M6 or whatever it is. Dorset's a tricky one. There's no motorways in Dorset. That's one of Dorset's redeeming features. Is technically there's no motorways in Dorset. So you have to drive down the Kirkby roads a bit slower than you'd like to. But I hope that all goes well and the sun shines, and then sun shines for you again when you get back up north for those shows in those village halls in the north. Next week, by the way, if it all comes together, a fascinating project that the University of Cumbria are doing using immersive technology. So this is big screens, big sound, and it's telling the story of someone who had a terrible car crash, who was a musician, a composer, and trying to understand his story so that students of nursing and of medicine can get inside the minds of someone who's had a traumatic incident. It sounds complicated. It's a really fascinating story. And I'm hoping to get the two protagonists from the university on, and hopefully the chap who's the composer, to tell how that happened and what the University of Cumbria are doing, really pushing the digital boundaries of immersive technologies. So fingers crossed that will happen for next Friday. But for now, it's 10:30. Nice to see you all. Good luck. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. See you all again soon. And John Hegley's coming to Cumbria as well. See Phil Hewittson's note in chat. John Hegley, genius, poet, musician, and all that stuff. See you soon.